Hello and welcome to another edition of SAFC Fan TV Extra Time. Like we see, a brand new feature on the channel where we a little bit more of a chillaxed kind of atmosphere. So joining us tonight on the stream is Mike and Conrad. Mike, how are you doing?
I'm all right. Severe lack of sleep with the new baby. And I was really good up until Sunday, but yeah, we'll go into that after.
For the purpose of the audio listeners, you do look very well, Mike, for not having much sleep and having a newborn. So
that's it. That's what pre-workout does for you.
Also joining us tonight is Conrad. Conrad, how are you? Are you just as tired, or are you full of beans?
I am, but I just don't feel it's justified when Mike's got 5 kids and a newborn, and I'm just like, I'm sitting here with the one, and he's 2 years old. He's not even here tonight, and I'm shattered. It feels like sort of like just like playing the world's smallest violin. Do you know?
You carry on. You have my deepest sympathy.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. You know, so I'll try to see if I can get through the show.
If you both fall asleep, I'll just try and keep on going on my own. Don't worry.
Yeah, that's fine.
I've come prepared as well. I've got my safety glasses on just in case anything happens. I don't know whether you've
seen it all goes wrong.
In the comments in the of one of the live or one of the was a short that we did one of the comments was, why are you wearing safety glasses? Well, here's me thinking I'm super trendy,
and because you're a Sunderland fan.
End up getting glasses shamed. I mean, what's that all about? Never mind. So briefly, obviously, we've been a week in a bit since we've done one of these. So Blackburn away, great result, wasn't it? Another 3-1, and it was great to see us continue that run of form, wasn't it? So, what was your thoughts on the Blackburn performance?
Oh well, you didn't address that to anyone, but yeah, we'll go.
Safety glasses, man. Didn't address it to anybody. Yeah, all right.
It was good. I mean, I was catching highlights where I could, and I was in the hospital on that day, so it was limited of what I could see. But obviously, I watched it again afterwards, and yeah, it was nice to see us in control and look comfortable again, and things starting to look like that could be a regular occurrence.
I would say we were expecting a tough game, weren't we, down there? But first 15-20 minutes, Conrad, it looked a bit nervy, didn't it?
Well, that was it. When Mike's talking about control, I'm guessing he obviously means after post half an hour, because that first half an hour was one of my favourite half an hours ever of watching football. Now that I know what it ends look like, I'll take that every week if we get battered for half an hour to then completely just dominate them and ride it out. Whereas I don't think it will quite go that way for us, but I think we were all just texting in the group, obviously keeping you updated, Mike, and it was just, they're going to score. They're going to score any minute. It's off the line here, last-ditch defending there, and we're like 3 minutes in, and it's just not going right. And then it was just, penalty, right, that's it, it's our game now.
Yeah.
It was nice, refreshing change to actually, I don't mean a refresh change, because I think we battered QPR from quite early on. I think we did it against Southampton, we battered as well, so I think we just carried on, but it was just nice to sort of see us ride out a storm instead of it being like something that just going to be, they got one and here's a second one, and they just sort of went on cruise control. It was just nice to see us go, just take it in your stride, they'll tire, and you'll get into the game. And just, it was good to see.
What did you think about the slight formation change? Because he only had like Dan Neil at the back in the holding midfield rather than two of them.
I think that's what gave Blackburn the opportunity for their first half an hour, that we were a bit more open, because, again, coming on to Cardiff, I felt that's where we lacked something yesterday, that we didn't have that presence just in the midfield when, as the game wore on, we were starting to see gaps appear in the middle where Ekwah would usually be. I just think Blackburn went straight for it at the beginning. And then we just sort of, Pritchard got his foot on the ball a bit more. We got the ball out wide to Clark and Barr, and it was just, there was no stopping them once we started that. I know you're not a fan of this guy. I quite like Bairstow. I know he's not great, but there's a bit of him that's like, he's given us a focal point, and the way he drops deep to also push on the others, I do think he's given us something.
He holds the ball up well. He's got a lot of potential, but I'm wondering if it's Bairstow or if it's the fact that we're not used to having a striker there to pass to rely on.
Do you not think we're still playing? I think, especially we'll touch on Saturday in a bit, but I think we're still playing as though we're playing without a centre forward.
Yeah,
there is that
on the wings.
They don't look to find him in the box. They're all looking for like Clark at the back post or Barr on the far side. There's never a ball played into the striker unless Bellingham's made a late run. He's the only one that gets on the end of the sort of central balls in, as it were. And it just, like you say, it just doesn't look like they sort of realise where he's going to be. And it might take a while for us to get that as well, because we've got, 3 strikers now, maybe a 4th whenever the other lad comes back. But unless he's going to settle in on one or start to have some for different games, are they going to have to chop and change each time and try and work out who best? Because Hamir will play completely differently to Bairstow. Rusin, in the 5 minutes I saw, looked completely different to the pair of them. And obviously that's good to have. You've got, options. But when you're trying to get a team to incorporate one of the minute, they all knew what Ross Stewart was going to do. Every one of them knew. And Sims played with them quite a bit, that they grew to learn what he was going to do. So we can't just chop and change every week. Admittedly, like I've said before, it gives us options to do it, but you want someone who's going to be like, right, this is going to be a physical battle. Hamir, you're good at holding the ball, Bairstow, you're good at holding the ball up and not taking any shit off the defenders. All right, you're going to be a counter-attacking team. Rusin, this will be better for you. You'll be in behind them, with Roberts and whatever. I don't know. You're probably right. We're just not used to a striker again at the minute. But if you think we haven't really played with a striker since January,
that's it. I mean, what's your thoughts? I seen a couple of comments over the weekend around Bairstow, and he's not getting griefed, but there's a few little bits of comments for to say already after 3 games he's not good enough and not what we need. Now, I've seen a few comments on social media past couple of days. Might be a valid point actually, but like saying we've got Emir and we've now got Bairstow. If we're developing these players, should we not be developing our own player in Emir before starting Bairstow? I don't know what your thoughts are, Mike. Is that like?
Yeah, definitely. We should be concentrating on who's signed and rather than who's on a loan, 100%. But I mean, Hamir's had them chances and he just doesn't seem to be living it. I think Bairstow's been given the opportunity because he's done so well on the training ground. And to be honest, with the strikers, we've so little time between them on the pitch with the strikers. That's where you've got to judge it at the end of the day. You put a 10 out of 10 training session in and Hamir does a 2 out of 10 training session, you can't justify picking him over Bairstow. So you don't know what's going on that side of things. And until one of them is gelled in, like this is the striker and the others are backup, till somebody's got that position gelled in, it's going to be constantly back and forth.
I'm thinking it could be because we played him here against Ipswich and he wasn't great. I don't think he didn't play against Ipswich or Rotherham. He came on against Southampton and he missed a one-on-one. He had a free header against QPR and he still didn't score. And I think the Bairstow thing is probably a case of you've got competition. You need to show me why you're going to be on here. Like, why am I going to pick you ahead of him? Also, probably there's something in it that Chelsea have only given us hint to us to play and to get games. So you threw him in. He's probably had a pre-season. He's played a bit with Chelsea and he's ready to go. Let's drop him in, see what he can do. Give him here a bit of a break because of the sort of games that he's had so far. I know he was playing. Is it an under-23s that was tonight? He was playing or something. So I've just
been watching the under-20, 21 to 23s, and to be fair, Emir hasn't stood out either. He seems. I think it's just I don't think he's lazy, but he's got that kind of lazy kind of demeanour. I mean, it looks like he's playing like a schoolboy in the huff type of thing, but on the other hand, Rosian was playing, and Rosian has had a really good game. He's really stood out. He's making some great runs in behind and gotten some great positions. And Sheesh as well, fantastic. But
that's your 2 different types of striker there, though, isn't it? If you want to talk lazy, I mean, you could have said the same about Darren Bent a lot of the time, but he was a great poacher. He was just in the right position at the right time.
You could have said the same thing about Kenwyne Jones, but you'd probably be right.
Yeah.
Sorry. I mean, after the first, this is after his injury. I know it's harsh, but he did stop jumping after his injury against England. He did just stop jumping for headers, and it was like, that's what you're here for. Jump. Just jump for the ball, man.
Well, anyway, we got the win against Blackburn, but you see, and a couple of years ago, would have probably crumbled and would have probably lost that game. So,
we did last season. Their pressure just got too much for us there last season, and they sort of wore us down to a 2-0. Some controversial goals where it could have been a penalty, but they went up the other end and scored. Their other one might have been offside as well. But they only got one against us on Wednesday when Ballard wasn't on the pitch, so they had a man advantage, and they took their moment through it.
And he looked offside.
Yeah, Manny looked off. Speaking of offsides, the QPR one for Job, miles onside, like absolutely shocking. Just, I know we've had a chance to speak on that, but I saw it again and was just like, that's a horrific decision.
Where was the linesman? Where was the linesman?
I don't know. These Russian linesmen.
This is your for and against arguments with VAR. Sometimes you wish you had it, and then
no, not for me.
No.
I mean, the only thing that's good about it is if it's not given at the moment, or if it is given, that's it. There's no messing about. There's no, we're going to go and have an half-hour check to see if it's clearly obvious. It's like, it's not clearly obvious if it takes you this long to sort it out.
Tony was offside.
Yeah, they did that. That first season, they had the VAR in. I'm sure it was Sheffield United played at Spurs, and they gave an offside, and it was because of his boot, and it was literally like, so you're saying if he was a size smaller in shoes, it was onside, and it was like, yeah, pretty much. It's like, right, is that the logic we're going down now?
I think we're just not using it right. It needs to be used less for the controversial, very split decisions. Like it's used in rugby league, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the refs only go to it if it's absolutely necessary, and it's their call to go for it or not.
I would rather it be a referee's decision to say, I want to check that again. Like, if he didn't give a penalty and then the ball went out of play and he went, I want to go and look at that again. Like, show that to me.
That's exactly how it should work.
Yeah. Like, it's a case of the referee's decision is final. Offsides, okay, yeah, fair enough. But why don't they just use the one that worked fine in the World Cup and the Champions League of the semi-automatic offsides, where it literally just puts a giant wall in it. It just goes, any part of his body through that line, it's offside.
Yeah.
Like, stops this thing of drawing the lines, and then some games will go, I forgot to draw the lines, or I had the wrong camera angle. So it was it's just literally done for you. It wasn't meant to be a VAR podcast, but, we'll move on.
Well, now, like, literally every goal is checked. It doesn't matter whether it's like anything bad happening or not. It's just everything is just checked.
But then they make up their own rules. I know we don't want to talk about Newcastle really, but their first goal yesterday, Gordon handballed it before he passed it to whoever tapped in the first one. And he's sitting there going, well, that's a handball. And they're like, yeah, but it was the assister, so it's not really like the one who did it. It's like, it literally was going out of play until he tapped it in. It's like Henry's one against Republic of Ireland all those years ago. Like, are you going to stop that? Oh, no, because he passed it to somebody else. It's like, oh, that's fine then. Like, so I could just catch the ball and go, Wayne, on your feet, and just kick it, and you just both it in. I go, it's fine, though. No, I didn't gain an advantage from it.
The penalty with Blackburn, that proves a lot of what people say in the pub a lot of the time, where they say, oh, that goal would change, it would change a game. And you think, oh, would it really? But that genuinely did. And you can see why it does.
It was a penalty, though. It was.
Yeah.
I put in the.
I think it was.
I put on the Thursday chat when it was like, it's one of them that they're not going to overturn it if it did go to VAR. I know it wouldn't in our league, but it's that thing of, did he get the ball? No. Did he kick the player? Yes. It's a foul. Might be soft. Jack Clark's being clever. He's going away from goal, but you've kicked the player when he didn't have the ball. It's a foul.
Yeah, spot on. So we get the 3 points, and then obviously we'll move on to Cardiff, and everybody's expecting us to just roll over them, I think, including me. I think I predicted a 4-1, which obviously was sadly wrong. But
just the 4 off.
Just the 4 off. But I think you would say after the first 15, 20 minutes against Cardiff, it was going to be a difficult game. They just come and put 10 men behind the ball, didn't they?
Definitely, yeah.
It's the same thing they did last season, though. Last season was, I don't want to say around, I think it was more closer to November, December time, but they literally came and did the exact same thing. Just sort of held out frustrated us and then nicked one 10, 15 minutes from the end. And this time, unfortunately, it was just 3 minutes from the end. It's exactly what they did last time.
With a
but they're
set
not,
piece.
It's not even that they're, what was it? They're not a bad side. They're not floating around the bottom. They're up near the top, I think.
About below us now, I think.
Yeah, so it's not like Middlesbrough or Huddersfield or Sheff Wed are coming up and thinking, shit, we need points on the board, just any means necessary. They clearly came with, Sunderland are going to play like this. What's the best way of stopping that? Well, the best way of stopping that is just purely stopping their football and frustrating them, and it worked an absolute treat.
There was three of them on Jack Clark at any one time sometimes.
But how many times Abdullah Bar had loads of space because they were doubling up on Clark, but they just kept on feeding the ball to Clark instead of using Bar more. And that's what I was saying about the Blackburn game as well. But we just seem to be overplaying. We've got Burstow there, but when we get the chance to put the cross in, we just seem to rather want to come out and take another pass and come back in the midfield rather than just put the ball in there.
We missed Equa in the centre. We missed Equa in the centre because we had no one took that centre channel because that was.
I know you don't like Dak, but Dak instead of Bairstow would have probably been the better option to have these two false nines in Job and Dak in that position rather than a Bairstow, just to sort of give us no focal point rather than just the whole. To give us no focal point, so it was all of them having to concentrate on every player rather than this one.
He couldn't do it. There's no way that TM could play a team with no striker on the pitch after all the hoo-ha.
But I mean, we didn't play a striker against Southampton and we won 5-0. We didn't play. I think we did play. We played Burstow against QPR, but then we took him off later on. Had a spell without him, and then put Hamir on when it was comfortably. We were 2-1 up, and they weren't really threatening us at all. And the Blackburn one, we had Bairstow on for a bit, but again, I think we took him off after a while and played without. So it wouldn't have been. I mean, I know I would have been annoyed looking at it, going, "Why have you taken the striker off? Like we're at home,
exactly."
Cardiff.
Yeah.
But I also trust that he knows more than me about football. It's like
that's it. I mean, it's all about opinion. But I mean, even
but I mean, then if he'd have lost the game the other way, it'd have been like, well, I was no striker. That was stupid. Yeah. Whereas this time I go, he went for it, and Cardiff's game plan was better.
That's management. You no matter which decision you make, left or right, you're going to get slated if you lose.
It's always a wrong. I'd like to see. I mean, we had that much possession. We still had loads of chances to win the game. We just didn't fall in the box, and
17 shots.
Really, 17. Did we test their keeper in anger? Because I watched the game, but I don't really remember their keeper pulling off a worldie.
I don't think we had a shot to save a party. I think they would just keep on blocking and getting bodies on the line, similar to what we did against Blackburn. Really,
the official was 16 shots and only six on target. So he did make some saves, but I remember was it Roberts right in front of goal? He hit it right at the keeper.
Yeah. Pritchard missed a good chance now, which I think Barr should have shot, and instead he tried to pass it to Pritchard, went past the post.
I don't really remember any of them. I know it was only yesterday, but when you just there's nothing that sticks out in my mind that was like
that type of game where you just think. Well, on a positive, I suppose, from the fallout from the game, like my favourite term, we haven't seen no bedwetting. It's just it's been perceived as kind of a blip of one of them games and just write it off where what we like the Sunderland fans, somebody could have went over the top and. A load of shite and all this sort of stuff. But to be fair, the performance was a decent one. We just couldn't score.
Can I say a positive? Huggins, I thought looked great.
Yes, I thought he had a great game.
And it was nice to see him. He looked like he had more confidence in that game. It's a shame, obviously, he didn't come off, but he looked like he had more confidence in that game now.
Right. There was a point where he charged into the box, and I think if he'd have had a left foot, we might have had another chance there. He tried to flick it with his right and it just didn't go anywhere. Danny Collins and Frankie were praising him at the end. If you think he's our third choice left back and he doesn't actually have a left foot, we were missing Sirkin and Elise. You would imagine our back four, if we play a four, when we go forward, would probably be Hume, Ballard, Elise and Sirkin, really. So at the moment, we're playing two of the four better ones, really, and we're still getting good. I'm not trying to make excuses for it. Of course, we lost and we were poor, and the two centre backs were arguably at fault for the goal we conceded, as well as Mike, you were telling me before, Patterson not bothering to even try and reach it.
Oh yeah, honestly, I've just had my video going like that, back and forth, and just watching him. His hand looks like it's going to go to the ball, and it just comes beside, and he just salmons off to the side. It's very odd. It's very odd, but yeah.
I've got a new deal now. It doesn't matter.
I'm sorted.
But 09, I like 09, but he looked like he was holding the player that scored. Not looking the ball, didn't know where the ball was coming, didn't know when it was coming in, didn't know where anything was going on. All he was doing was holding this guy all the way, just walking practically.
That's one of Ryan's faults at times. He watches the man rather than watching the ball, and he gets caught out of it. But I mean, even the error that led to the goal, I mean, Trey Hume, don't know what he was trying to do or what he was trying to pass it, but kick it straight out of play for them to get a corner, you would see. And I said, you can see these scoring here. And being mystic mate today.
Yeah, hold your man, but you need to be when that ball's played, you need to be looking because your head, you're in front of him. You got your ball side of it. He could have easily hit that over. That should have been 09's head if he was looking.
He shouldn't have even got to him. I think Ballard completely missed a free header. They jumped up too early and missed it or something, and that's why it went over him. And it's just, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're not the perfect players at all, and I think we've been very good and or lucky that 09's done as well as he has at centre back for so long. Because if you think when we bought him, he was a centre mid, and then we made him a makeshift right back for a season. Yeah, and then he was a centre mid again for a while, and then we sort of just put him anywhere. And that's
the utility player now, isn't he?
Exactly. And but do you want a utility player as one of your main centre backs when you actually have an option of 2, potentially 3 other centre backs who are that by trade? Like, it's not that I really like Luke O'Nien and I love everything he does for us, but I just look at him and I just go, I wish you were an actual centre back. Yeah. Like, I just really wish that was your main thing and not just you covering.
Yeah.
Well, like I say, I've been watching the 21s and Sealt and Triantis were both playing tonight as well. And to be fair, they both did okay. You know, nothing spectacular, but they look like 2 defenders, if you know what I mean. They look like they can just defend. So, you know, at what point do you think Tony Mowbray will say, right, you're going to get your chance now?
I think Ballard's at that level where you put any of them next to him and he'd be able to help them. He'd be able to, you know, he'd have them under his wing and he'd have 2 really good centre-backs a few games in.
I still think it has to be Ballard and Elise, though. I think Elise was absolute quality last season when he was playing. And I never think I might be completely wrong on this. I don't think they ever got a real run in the team together at centre-back. I always thought Ballard was out for a lot of the beginning when Elise started to stamp in. And then Elise was out for the second half of the season when Ballard actually started to play. Whereas I actually think, though, because they're both rapid, they're both really strong, they're both really tall as well. They're like proper athletes, not like what you used to think of like Tony Adams and Steve Bold as a centre-back. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're actual like athletes, all of them, and they'd eat up the ground if they were being chased down or something like that. They'd be. I
like that right foot left foot combination as well. You know, a left hand side of defense. You know, left foot just balances the side up a lot more as well. But I don't know. So home form.
We're not trying to be depressing here, guys. By the way, it's just you lose again. If it's been the other way around, say if we'd lost to Blackburn and smashed Cardiff, it might have been a bit happier. But it's
I think. It's not depressing. It's more the disbelief of going from exactly the same lineup into 2 games and having such a different. I know the first 20 minutes against Blackburn was a tonking. Do we think this 4-1-4-1 has something to do with that on both accounts?
I think you were right earlier, Mike. I think we're missing the lead. We're missing the Ekwa in the middle. When Ekwa's not there, we're missing that protection for the back 4, and he breaks things up, but he does it so well. And I think on Saturday and against Blackburn, Joby, Dan Neil, there's not one of them wants to sit. They're both trying to get forward. There's not one of them can play that anchor role what Ekwa plays. So I think the sooner he's back on the side, the better for me. I don't know if he's
Corey Evans still here, by the way.
Yes, they say it's going to be Christmas time, New Year before he's anywhere near. He's had an ACL, hasn't he?
God, so he might not even be back properly when he's playing back.
Well, Matete is another couple of months away as well, isn't he? So
did you think before the transfer window we'd be discussing being short on midfielders and not strikers?
mad, isn't it?
It's just, I really like it. I think it just shows us how influential Ekwar is to our whole setup and system, really. Like, and considering that in January no one had even heard of him and he'd not even played a professional game, they'd clearly done their research on this guy to be involved in our team.
He's got to be back soon, hasn't he?
I think, it was a couple of weeks.
Leg, wasn't it?
Didn't they?
Dead leg. I think it was a couple of weeks. So hopefully,
but I don't want to rush him back and then lose him for longer. So it's probably sensible to sort of think we're still early on in the season. I don't know where we are now. Still like in the top 6, maybe 7, and like a win next week and someone else drops points somewhere else and we're all of a sudden back into 4th or 3rd and it's one's running away with it. No. Preston will slip up and Ipswich we're 5th. So and Ipswich will slip up and Norwich, who were up there with us, got battered 6-2 the other day by Plymouth Argyle, and everyone's going to beat everyone this season and we will have days like that again.
It's classic championship, and I think this year Leicester last season's Burnley. I think they'll take some stock.
They lost to Hull. They're not impervious, and they only they only just went past Bristol City if it was for a dodgy penalty. And Southampton game, they played them just after they played us. After Southampton had played us, and I think they just they went 1-0 down with the typical Russell Martin gung ho approach. And then suddenly Leicester went, hang on, this is actually a piece of piss to get through and beat them. And even Borough beat Southampton the other day, and they're down to 15th now. And they were, after 3 games, everyone was going, oh my God, they'll be promoted. They're the greatest championship side of all time. And you're sitting there going, they've lost 4 in a row. Yeah. Shite. Absolute shite. They can't defend.
I'll tell you what it is, and we'll see when it comes to Swansea. It's Welsh teams. We just don't have any luck against Welsh teams. Swansea last season, we didn't.
Do you remember the Cardiff game where Ross Wallace scored that free kick and Niall Quinn had to pay like $9,000 in taxi bills home all those years ago?
All the fans, I remember that.
Stuck at the airport or whatever it was.
I think that's the 3rd or 4th time they've beat us 1-0. just like you say, a Welsh side's just a ball. Most just don't like sheep.
If we played,
controversy.
Flash up a disclaimer.
What more sheep were harmed during this lively spring?
How did we do against the teams last year? I'm trying to even remember the Swansea games last year. Do we know?
We lost against Swansea. I can't remember the score. I only know because my friend's a Swansea fan, so I remember him gloating.
Cardiff away 1-1 or something like that.
No, I think they beat us 1-0.
No, we beat them 1-0. Sirkin scored their place towards the end of the season. Because there was that spell of towards the end of last season where Sirkin kept popping up with goals for us and winning us games, like West Brom. And Millwall when he got knocked out but still scored. That was just standing in the crowd.
So the last 4 games against Swansea, we lost 3-0, we lost 2-0, we lost 2-1, we lost 3-1.
Wonderful. That's something to look forward to.
I mean, if nothing else, we're consistent.
Which might get a goal against them.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so
maybe there's something in that. Then
we've got a chance on Friday to put that right in our Chef Wed. Do you think he'll make changes based on Saturday's performance, or will he give them all?
Where's it at?
Chef Wed.
It's probably better that it's at their place because, again, like last season, we seem to perform better away from home, where teams are forced to come out and attack us a bit. Chef Wed is still only on 1 point, I want to say. Yeah, they're not doing well. So, and is it Cisco, whatever he's called, in charge, or
Cisco Muniz?
I think if we beat them, he won't be here much longer. So it's probably a good thing we're playing them now before they actually think, should we try and get someone important in? Maybe they'll just try and Alex Neil off of Stoke. He likes to leave people in the middle of the season.
Well, he'll be getting sacked from there anyway, won't he?
Yeah. Walk jump before you're pushed.
Is this not another one of those worrying things, though, that Sunderland perform against good teams and then we play bottom of the division and that's when we seem to all just sit there going...
Did we do that last season? Did we lose to the ones at the bottom? So you think Wigan, we battered them every time, and who else went down?
MK Dons, was it? No, that was season before.
No, it can't be them. They weren't up this high. I'm trying to even think who else did we play. Right, I'll look it up. You talk about something else.
Well, I've got a there's a lad who I work with. He's a Sheffield Wednesday fan, and he says that the football they have been playing, they're playing just like they haven't got a clue. He says the manager seems to just not know who his players are, or it's just got no tactics at all. And I said, well, that's typical, because come Friday you'll beat us 3 or 4-1. Just you watch.
It was Blackpool and Reading who went down as well. And if you think we beat Reading 3-0 away from home, I think we drew 1-1 with Blackburn just after the New Year. But if anyone remembers watching that game, and I do because I'm sad, we equalised like 80 minutes, and if there'd just been another 5 minutes in the game, we would have beaten them. And I can't remember like the reverse fixtures really between the two of them, but I don't think we lost to any of them, because I'd remember if we'd have done that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm generalising. I'm remembering playing Man City and things like that.
That's kind of
we always used to beat Man City. It's
that's what I'm saying.
That actually the times that Man City are at their peak, we'd be smashing them in the Premier League week in, week out now, just because that's what we used to do.
If there's a team that needs a win, just come and play us. That's normally the way it happens. Or if there's a centre forward not scored for 2 years, come and play against us.
Well, I'm actually weirdly glad Middlesbrough won the other day. Not just because I thought it was one of those things. It was destined for them to be not won a game. Sunderland turn up 4-0 Borough. And you're just like, where's this come from? So it's a little bit like Carrick's got a bit longer. See if he can actually. Not see if he can do anything, but at least they sort of think, oh well, it was just a blip. It's fine. We're back on track now. And then,
like you beat Southampton, so
yeah. So is everybody after the first 3 games. Like everybody beats Southampton and Russell Martin. He doesn't know what he's doing. I say this, they might get promoted, but I mean, I'm not saying. I'm trying to be careful that I don't just sort of become a meme later on, and it'd be like, you don't win anything when you attack for no reason. But you're going to win games, absolutely, if you attack people. But if you can't defend, you're going to be held back at some point, aren't you?
That's it. But I mean, like say, changes. I don't know, from what I've seen of El Sheesh, I think I'd like to see him get a start. I think he did well. Dave, he came on Saturday and did well. I thought he looks lively, looks direct, and he looks like
he had a shot. I do remember he took one on like the half volley at the keeper. Like wasn't like a worldie, but it had to be saved.
I think he's not scared to take people on and like I say, get the ball in the box. And I just think might it be a combination of him playing with Emir to put them crosses in, or will he continue with burst? Or I don't know. But
I like he looks more in control with the ball at his feet than some of these other lads coming through are. So he does look like he wants it. And I thought Pritchard looked a bit not as good as the last few games, not as good as when he's come on.
He looked tired, I thought.
Yeah. So
which I was surprised when
he's ancient at 29. So
this is it. I was surprised when we took Job off and left him on, which I thought that was a strange one. But had Job
might have been tired though. He's 17. He's probably up late playing FIFA sometimes still.
It's a late night of homework.
Yeah, exactly. Like
he's been on TikTok all night now.
He's played most minutes this season, probably. Like,
isn't he 18 now? Wasn't it his 18?
Yes, he was 18 the other day.
18 now,
Happy birthday, mate.
Well, that's why he was tired. He must have been out drinking.
He's been out on the drink. That's what it is, been out on the drink.
You've got all blurry.
I'm out of soft focus.
That's the tiredness setting in.
Yeah. Even your camera was going 7 hours.
Yeah, he just turned 18. He was definitely out drinking. That's why he was tired.
Maybe Pritchard was with him. That's probably why.
That's why. That's the reason why we got beat Saturday.
Hangovers.
That's great. Welcome to SAFC excuses and.
Well, we've always got to have some kind of excuse when we get beat, haven't we? It's always the ref. I mean,
the team's never that good against us. There's something wrong. Just been raining.
I have no excuses. We hammered them. They defended really well and got a lucky set piece.
Bearing in mind they were time wasting from pretty much first 10 minutes to only have 5 minutes at the end of the game. I thought that was pretty shocking.
Even the half time was 2 minutes.
They've wound that down really quick. The thing that used to be, it's extra 15 minutes and that. They've all of a sudden just gone, sack that off. Don't need that anymore.
I want to be away from here.
Like, it's exactly what it should be. Like 50.
Yeah.
The only thing then was when they continued to waste time in the 13 minutes and only played for 3, and the ref just went, "Yeah, that's the end of the game." It's like, all right, okay. I did think it was a bit silly, but it was also like, yeah, but it's right.
Yeah.
I thought there should have been about 9 or 10 minutes, mate, because they're saying to me the goal kicker was tackling forever for all the goal kicks, the substitutions. But that's, I don't know.
You've got to find that happy medium, though, haven't you, between the stopwatch, like you say. You don't want an extra 45 minutes of football after the end.
If we'd been winning 1-0, it would have been a different story. It should have been 3 minutes and not 10, but never mind.
I just put it down to it's one of those games where I don't think we got ahead of ourselves. I think we were all very dizzy and excited because we'd won 3, and we thought we'd batter them. And I think we forgot that they're not a shit side. They're actually all right. And they came here with a game plan of let's disrupt Sunderland, and it worked an absolute treat. And we fell right into it and just couldn't break them down. And now the worry is that it doesn't become a regular thing for teams to play at the Stadium of Light that just go, right, frustrate them from minute one, because it's been a problem for years not being able to break teams down at home. It's just people come up to Stadium of Light and frustrate us, and
they could have had another 2 goals. They could have had another 2 goals. That is it Etete or Etiti who they brought on?
A couple of great ones, didn't they?
Yeah.
Oh God,
yeah.
there was Sky and sitters all over the place towards the end. They didn't want to win almost.
But he made some cracking runs, and we couldn't even touch him.
No.
So it's like
that's the thing.
It's just one of them games. I think I'm going to put it down. I think we'll be all right, and we'll come back on Friday against Chef Wed. Even if we took a 1-0, just get back on the winning ways, and we'll just pick up the points, and we just move on from Cardiff. The worry is if then Sheffield Wednesday do it at home against us, and if we have to sort of make some changes in the game. But I don't think they will, because I think they'll be desperate for points and sort of think we could probably take these at home. They've just lost. They don't know what they're going to do. But also, how are they going to plan for us if we don't know what our best lineup is?
Well, that's it. I mean, I watched them against Borough, and to be fair, they were awful. But it was 2 bad teams together.
Which one, Sheffield or Borough?
Sheffield and Borough, they were both awful.
Both.
Both awful. It was 2 bad teams together. But just the home form, like you said just there about we've struggled against them type of teams who come and defend all the time. I think it's a worry. We
did it last season. Teams came to us, and we I think we battered Rotherham, but that's because Rotherham weren't very good. But teams came up to us and just sort of sat back and sort of saw out games. And apart from a couple of games where we had Diallo Magic or Stewart played for those 10-13 games, we really struggled to break teams down. And it was the same in League One for 4 seasons. And the season before that we don't like to talk about in the Championship, teams just came up to us and went, "Yous are actually shit," and still only came out with like 1 and 2 nils against us. They weren't battering us. They came up and did the exact same thing to leave with the points.
It's scary because we set a precedent of how you have to play at the Stadium of Light now, because Southampton come up and they get trounced 5-0. So Cardiff come up with a different game plan, parking the bus, and it works for them. So is every other team going to look at it and think, well, that's how you take it?
Of course they will. Of course they will. That's exactly how you beat Sunderland. You turn up, you keep your men behind the ball, let them come onto you and frustrate them, slow their game down, and then you wait for your opportunity to come. And there was a set piece where, like you say, they weren't really defending properly, and they nicked it.
But this is where maybe it's down to Tony Murray for then change things up a little bit. Maybe change the formation.
Is it down? I know it's down to Tony Murray because, of course, he's the manager. But it's been on. Alex Neil couldn't get that over. Lee Johnson couldn't get that over. Phil Parkinson couldn't get that over. Whoever else through that time always had an issue. Jack Ross was one of the biggest ones. He could not beat teams. But even away from home, Jack Ross couldn't beat teams. It was just the 1-1 special.
1-1 specialist.
Like, he couldn't break teams down, and it's been a problem for that long. I don't think it's just, it's this manager's fault if he can't do it. We've been doing it for years under different managers. The only time it didn't happen is when we were in the Premier League and teams were actually better than us and came up and had a bit more quality to them to sort of think, actually, we can have a go man for man, unless it was like someone in the relegation zone with us.
So really, what you're saying is they knock the stadium down and build a new one.
Yeah, and build it on a hill, whichever way we're facing. Like, no,
Like, is it Yeovil have got
two strikers at home. Two strikers at home. That's how you do it.
Yeah, it
3-5-2.
I mean, I know he wants to keep his formation, but yeah, 3-5-2 wouldn't be a bad one to go down with, like, proper wing backs. Hume gets forward anyway, so I don't see why he would have a problem with that one. And yes, if we lose the ball, you float back into a 4 or a 5 and just sort of crowd them out and try and get away with that one. It's just then how long do the fullbacks last for the full game? But I mean, I'm hoping they go Hamir and Rusin going forward, and Burstow as well to be in and around that, and this whatever he's called, the other lad as well. If when he comes in, he might be absolutely great when he comes in, but we just don't.
I think he's only a couple of weeks away from being fit, isn't he? I think so. But if we've got Pembele for to come in as well, we've got the option to play.
But are you going to drop Trey Hume? I think he's one of our best performers so far. He does about 3 or 4 crunching slide tackles every game to win us the ball back. Yes, there was a dodgy moment.
1 or 2 ups moments, yeah.
I know, but like every game, consistently, he wins us the ball back, like from that right back position, whether it's further up the field, whether it's a slide tackle at the back, he's consistently winning us the ball back, which is probably more than any of the other defenders do.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to risk losing that for someone who might be better at putting a cross into the box for the wingers, because no one aims for the strikers?
I'm just thinking it's something you maybe you could try. If he's trying this 4-1-4-1, it's not working. That's probably
Hume can go left back as well. He did that a couple of times last season.
Yeah, it's just I think we need to try, especially when we're at home against a team like that that's clearly parking the bus. I think he should have made changes at half time, if not soon after. Drastic changes to the formation to bring.
I think he probably thought, and I'm aware we're going over time here, but this is the extra time podcast. I think he thought at half time it's coming, because I thought the same as well. I think it's when we started to get into the 60s and 70s, I went, oh shit, hang on. This is the same territory that we're in beforehand. Whereas if he'd have done it at half time, not saying it would have backfired, but it could have gone the other way as well, that Cardiff might have sort of gone, they're pushing for this, right? We'll come out of ourselves now and we'll go for this. I didn't think there was a problem at half time. I was not at the time thinking, oh, hang on, they're going to just lock down. I actually thought it's a matter of time. We're going to score. And that was probably me and Tony Mowbray's fault as well for thinking the exact same thing of, it'll be fine. We'll be fine. We'll score. And we didn't.
I'm ever the optimist, but when it gets to 45 minutes at 0-0, how they were defending, I saw them sneaking it. That's all I could think of, is if we were going to score, that would have happened with the amount
of chances. That's just the Sunderland fan in you, because of years of experience. That's years of experience at the stage of my life. I still remember, was it Crystal Palace under David Moyes, 2-0 up at like 70 minutes, and we somehow lost, and it was just like, I don't understand how that happened, David. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're 2-0 up, coasting, and you lose 3-2. What are you doing?
That's classic David Moyes, wasn't it? But anyway, we've overrun yet again. Extra time. Extra time.
We're doing proper injury time here.
Proper injury time, right? But I hope everybody's enjoyed the podcast. And
bit of a moany one, I feel, this time. I'm sorry if we've moaned too much, everyone. I feel like I've just moaned for 45 minutes.
When we get beat, it's always a depressing moment. We've tried not to be. Hopefully it's just a blip, and on Friday we can get back to winning ways. But like I say, thanks everybody for watching. Conrad, do you want to see your farewells?
Farewells.
Well done, Mike.
Well, thanks for everyone for joining us, and it wasn't all negative. If you skip back and play it all again, I bet you can find a positive in this podcast.
The first 5 seconds are positive.
If you're not, just play it again and again for us anyway, because at the moment, when Carlos Edwards emailed us from Spotify, he said we are the 54th ranked podcast in football in the UK. So, I mean, we've only done, 2 proper episodes and a few Thursday Night Lives that people can listen to on here, and we're already flying up the charts. So, if you don't mind listening to us twice, flipping fantastic. Or flipping Philly, not the F word, Philly.
Or better yet, send us on to your friends who've not listened yet.
Exactly. As they say on Peter Crouch, pass the pod.
Pass the pod. But I better let you two go and get some sleep, since you're both tired past your bedtime.
Yep, it is.
Well, take it easy, all. Thanks for watching. We'll see you later.
See you later on.